One wire. That is every electrical connection between the US government and a 1991 Cummins 5.9-liter inline 6. A single 14-gauge lead to a fuel shutoff solenoid. Power flows, diesel burns. Replace that wire with a $4 lawnmower cable, and the government loses its only handshake with your engine forever. 35 years later, your 2024 Ram needs 47 sensors, a urea injection system, a particulate filter that regenerates at 1,100 degrees, and a fluid quality monitor that will derate your engine to walking speed over a bad batch of truck stop diesel exhaust fluid. One of these machines put a mechanic in federal prison. The other earned Cummins a $2 billion fine. The mechanic cut wires. Cummins wrote code. Guess which one served time? The first-generation Cummins Ram was a sovereign engine. No computers, no emissions hardware, no bureaucratic leash. From 1989 to 1993, the Bosch Viv E rotary pump delivered fuel with nothing but camshaft timing and a single 14-gauge wire to the shutoff solenoid. That was the entire handshake, one wire. Unplug it and the government lost control. Replace it with a lawnmower cable and the engine ran until you told it to stop. No error codes, no limp mode, no black box. Then came the P-pump. In 1994, Dodge dealers began selling Rams with the Bosch P7100 inline injection pump. Still zero electronics, still no sensors. The P-pump was all steel and oil, lubricated by the crankcase, not a circuit board in sight. It delivered more fuel, more precisely, raising output to 175, even 235 horsepower with the right tweaks. Emissions, cleaner burn, not after treatment. The 1994 standards were met by reshaping pistons, tuning injection timing, and burning diesel better, not by trapping, dosing, or monitoring exhaust. No DPF, no EGR, no SCR, no DEF. The only wire still went to that same solenoid. Owners called these trucks million-mile machines. They ran on bad fuel in sub-zero blizzards with nothing to fail but the parts you could fix by hand. The government's reach ended at the firewall. Every sensor, every harness, every software lockout came later. The wire war hadn't started. The engine belonged to the man who owned it. The P-pump was the high watermark of mechanical sovereignty. Everything after would be a surrender, one wire at a time. The mechanical age ended in 2003. The wire war began. Dodge dropped the hammer with the Bosch CP3 common rail injection electronic control. The old P-pump was out. Now the engine answered to a black box, the engine control module. No more direct cable, no more manual timing. The computer called the shots. Fuel pressure soared to 23,000 pounds per square inch. Piezo injectors fired in microseconds. Power jumped. 305 horsepower, 555 pound-feet of torque. The engine ran smoother, quieter, cleaner. Not because of any filter or chemical trick, it burned better. Combustion was precise. Emission standards tightened, but there was still no diesel particulate filter, no exhaust gas recirculation, no selective catalytic reduction, no diesel exhaust fluid. The Ram Cummins from 2003 to 2007 was the last free Cummins. Electronic, but not yet shackled. Owners could still swap injectors, tune timing, run any fuel they dared. If the engine control module failed, the truck did not stop dead. No after-treatment, no forced limp mode, no $45 sensor holding a $90,000 rig hostage. But the writing was on the firewall. Sensors multiplied. The engine control module watched everything: rail pressure, boost, coolant temperature, throttle angle. Every wire was a new point of control, a new way for the government to reach into the engine bay. The last free Cummins was a brief, bright pause before the cliff. In 2007, the drop was total. The 6.7-liter engine arrived. Diesel particulate filter, exhaust gas recirculation, electronic variable geometry turbo. The government's hand was now inside the exhaust. The era of mechanical sovereignty was over. Every mile from here would be monitored, measured, and enforced. The wire war went nuclear in 2007. After-treatment hardware stormed the engine bay. The diesel particulate filter, DPF, arrived with a vengeance. Every few hundred miles the computer forced a regeneration. Soot baked at 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit. That is enough heat to make steel glow. Sensors were everywhere: pressure, temperature, flow. If one failed, the engine's brain called for backup. If two failed, it called for surrender. A clogged DPF meant forced idle, limp mode, and sometimes a tow. But the real grenade was the diesel exhaust fluid system, DEF. The urea quality sensor, UQS, was a $45 part with the power to paralyze a $90,000 truck. If DEF fluid went bad or the sensor glitched, the engine control module, ECM, started the countdown. First came a warning, then a power cut. Keep driving and the truck drops to 5 miles per hour. That is not a suggestion. That is a hostage negotiation. You could be hauling cattle, snowplowing a mountain pass, or running an ambulance. It does not matter. The truck obeys the wire. The government's logic is absolute. Emissions first, work second, owner last. Warranty? Maybe, if you make it to a dealer. But downtime is death. Every hour off the road is money lost, jobs missed, promises broken. This is why owners started cutting wires. Not for smoke, for survival. Regulators went hunting for numbers. The EPA's Air Enforcement Division pulled the receipts. Over 550,000 diesel pickups, Class 2B and Class 3, the backbone of American work, were caught with their emissions controls ripped out. Not a rounding error, not a handful of outlaws, 500,000 trucks, tracked by the sale of delete tunes and hardware. The pollution math is blunt. 570,000 tons of extra nitrogen oxides, 5,000 tons of particulate matter. One deleted truck equals 30 or 40 times the pollution of a stock machine. The air gets dirtier, the crackdown gets bigger. EPA civil investigators filed 172 cases in 6 years. $55 million in fines. The penalty for selling or installing a defeat device up to $4,819 per violation, per truck, per kit, per day. Enforcement is a spreadsheet, not a warning. No mercy for scale. The government does not chase owners, it hunts sellers, tuners, and shops. The numbers are cold, institutional, relentless. Every deleted wire, every missing sensor, every tampered ECM is another line in the ledger, another target for penalty. The wire war, in the eyes of the state, is a matter of arithmetic. Count the trucks, count the tons, count the dollars. The next case is already on the books. Federal agents stormed Elite Diesel service in 2018. They seized hard drives, invoices, every trace of a working man's rebellion. Troy Lake, 65, the shop's owner, stood accused of a crime. He was accused of making trucks run when the wires failed them. The charges landed in 2022. Conspiracy to violate the Clean Air Act. The indictment listed 344 trucks, school buses, fire engines, workhorses, each one stripped of its digital leash. The government called it tampering. Lake called it survival. Sentencing came December 5, 2024. 12 months and 1 day. It was not a fine, not probation, it was prison. Lake reported to FCY Florence on February 10, 2025. He served 7 months in a cell for the crime of keeping trucks alive in Wyoming winters. He became the diesel mechanic of the prison shop. Then he went to home confinement with an ankle monitor in September 2025. His shop was shuttered. His name was erased from the sign. His customers were stranded. The total fine was $2,500 for Lake, $37,500 for the shop, and $12,500 for low-income repairs. $52,000. One man, one shop, 344 trucks. The price of defiance paid in months and dollars. Meanwhile, the wire war's real targets, corporations, walked free. Cummins, caught with nearly 1 million defeat devices, paid a civil penalty. No handcuffs, no mugshots, no prison. Only Troy Lake served time. Cummins, the world's biggest diesel name, faced the wire war with spreadsheets and lawyers. In December 2023, the government landed the largest Clean Air Act penalty in history, $1,675 million. Not for a handful of trucks, for nearly 1 million. 630,000 Ram pickups from 2013 to 2019, each running software that let emissions slip by during real-world use. Another 330,000 trucks, 2019 to 2023, were flagged for undisclosed emissions tricks. Total recall 960,000 vehicles. The penalty is civil, not criminal. No mugshots, no prison, just a check, paid from quarterly profits. Cummins admitted no wrongdoing. The company agreed to fix or recall hundreds of thousands of trucks, at least 85% within 3 years, or pay even more. The bill does not just cover the fine. It adds another $326 million for repairs, mitigation, and oversight. All told, the cost tops $2 billion. The scale is corporate. The process is institutional. The punishment is a line item, not a cell block. One shop owner, 300 trucks, prison. One corporation, 1 million trucks, a settlement. That is the asymmetry. That is the wire war in numbers. Troy Lake's hands fixed 344 trucks. Cummins lawyers signed off on nearly 1 million. One man, one shop, 1 year in federal prison. A global corporation, $2 billion lighter, and every executive free to fly home. Lake's crime: keeping school buses, ambulances, fire engines alive in Wyoming winters. Cummins' offense: software that let 630,000 Rams run dirty on the open road, and another 330,000 flagged for undisclosed tricks. Lake's penalty: 7 months behind bars, his shop erased, his name stripped from the sign. Cummins: no indictment, no mugshot, no CEO in a jumpsuit. Only a check: $1,675 million, paid from quarterly profits, with another $326 million for repairs and oversight. For the mechanic, justice is a cell. For the manufacturer, it is a spreadsheet. The wire war's asymmetry is brutal. The small man pays with time. The big name pays with money. No one at Cummins admitted guilt. No one lost a job. Only Troy Lake wore the ankle monitor. The message is clear: break the rules with a wrench, lose your freedom. Break them with code, keep your corner office. November 7th, 2025. Troy Lake's name reappeared this time on a pardon, not on a docket. One stroke of a pen and the man who fixed 344 trucks walked free. No apology, no restitution. A certificate read full and unconditional pardon. Wyoming Senator Cynthia Lummis called it justice for a mechanic punished for keeping school buses and ambulances running in sub-zero wind. The wire war had found its first martyr, but the government was not done retreating. January 21st, 2026. The Department of Justice issued a memo saying no more criminal charges for diesel deletes or for selling tuners. Civil penalties remain. No more mugshots, no more prison time. The spreadsheet replaces the cell block. The Department of Justice's own memo said, prosecution of Clean Air Act tampering offenses involving diesel vehicles will henceforth be pursued only through civil enforcement. The criminal war on wires was over. The civil war, fines, recalls, and consent decrees rolled on. October 15th, 2025. The Diesel Truck Liberation Act hit the Senate floor. Its promise was to strip the Environmental Protection Agency's authority to prosecute working trucks, shield mechanics from federal raids, and let owners choose reliability over regulatory fragility. The bill stalled, but the message landed. The wire war was now a political weapon, not just a legal one. February 25th, 2026, State of the Union. Troy Lake sat in the gallery as a guest of Senator Lummis. His presence was a rebuke. The president's speech called for common-sense diesel reform, code for surrender. The wire war's casualties had gone public. March 27, 2026. The Environmental Protection Agency and the White House announced the biggest retreat yet. The DEF urea quality sensor, called UQS, was dead. No more $45 sensors holding $90,000 trucks hostage. No more 5 miles per hour limp modes triggered by false readings. The new rule requires switching to NOx sensors, updating the software, and moving on. Diesel exhaust fluid is still required. Emission standards remain unchanged. The diesel particulate filter, selective catalytic reduction, and exhaust gas recirculation systems are still in the pipeline. Only the monitoring method changed. Deleting emissions equipment remains a civil violation. But the government's logic of absolute enforcement had been broken. The rollback saves $4.4 billion a year for farmers and $13.79 billion for everyone else. The Environmental Protection Agency's own warranty data showed that UQS failures were the top cause of false D-rates nationwide. Lee Zeldin, Environmental Protection Agency Administrator, said that failing DEF systems are a nationwide disaster. Fact check: criminal prosecution stopped while civil fines remain. On March 27th, the rule removed the UQS, not DEF. The P-pump met 1994 emissions by burning better, not by aftertreatment. Cummins paid $1.675 billion and over $2 billion with recalls and admitted no wrongdoing. Troy Lake was sentenced to 12 months and 1 day, served 7 months, and was pardoned on November 7, 2025. The state had cut its own wires. The wire war's front lines moved again. The sovereignty spectrum shifted, but it did not vanish. Freedom is a spectrum now. The days of one wire are gone, but the urge to reclaim control burns hotter than ever. Every owner stares down a menu of choices. Each level trades risk for sovereignty. Each level is a line in the sand. Level 1. Pure compliance. No deletes, no tunes, every sensor, every filter, every line of code untouched. DEF fluid in the tank, DPF in the pipe, SCR dosing on cue. The truck lives and dies by the government's checklist. No fines, no trouble, just the price of downtime, warranty roulette, and the silent threat of a $45 sensor killing a $90,000 rig. Market value is stable. Resale is easy. This is the safe zone, but it is not sovereignty. The machine belongs to the rules, not the man. Level 2. The gray market. Software updates, not hardware removal. Urea quality sensor gone, legally, after March 27th. NOx sensors take over. The government's own data admits the UQS was a disaster, top cause of false D-rates nationwide. Now, a software flash restores reliability. This is not tampering. This is not a crime. The EPA's own rulebook says so. DEF fluid is still required. DPF, SCR, EGR, all still in the pipe. Standards unchanged. The wire war retreats, but the rules remain. Owners claw back uptime, but the leash is only loosened, not cut. Civil risk zero. Market value rising. This is the new middle ground. Level 3. The outlaw's gamble. Delete tunes, hardware off the truck. DPF in the dumpster. EGR blocked. DEF tank dry. The ECM is reprogrammed to forget what is missing. The truck runs free, but every mile is a civil violation. The penalty is real, up to $4,819 per truck, per day, per kit. Enforcement is cold math. The government hunts sellers and shops, not owners, but the risk is written in the law. Resale value tanks. Inspections are a minefield. This is pure sovereignty, paid for in risk and resale. The machine belongs to the owner until the next crackdown. Level 4. The old gods, pre-2007 iron. P-pump, VE, or early common rail. No aftertreatment, no DEF, no sensors to fail, no software to brick. These trucks are gold. Values skyrocket. Retrofit programs pop up, mechanics swapping new bodies onto old frames, or rebuilding million-mile 12-valve engines for a second life. No civil risk, no limp mode, just steel, oil, and the owner's hand. This is mechanical sovereignty, rare, expensive, but absolute. The spectrum is real, the government retreated, but it did not surrender. Deleting emissions hardware is still a civil violation. DEF is still required. DPF, SCR, EGR still choke the pipe. The UQS is dead, but the wire war grinds on. Every owner must choose, play by the rules, fight for uptime, or stake everything on autonomy. The sovereignty spectrum is not theory. It is the new map of diesel America. The lines are drawn. The choice belongs to those who turn the key. One wire meant sovereignty, a sovereign engine, a sovereign owner. Now it is 47 sensors versus one mechanic, prison versus a civil fine, working steel versus surrender to software. The wire war exposes the asymmetry. Troy Lake lost years and Cummins paid money. Diesel exhaust fluid is still required, but the spectrum of sovereignty has shifted. The last free Cummins is not nostalgia. It is a warning shot. Whose engine is it when every wire answers to the state?